So, Evelyn, good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Sorry not to be with you.
No, we're really sorry you're not with us, but you're absolutely with us virtually. So what I'm going to do, I don't know, I'm looking there, I probably ought to be looking there. We're going to hand over to you for your presentation, and I'll come back in, ask a few questions, and then throw it open to the audience. Evelyn, the floor virtually is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg, and good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm Evelyn Welch. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Vice Chancellor and President of the University of Bristol. And I'm going to use the next 15-20 minutes to tell you about the remarkable new landmark Temple Quarter Enterprise campus just down by Temple Mead Station. But before I do, I want to share two stories, which I hope will be meaningful for you. Let me just see if I can make this move forward. So a few years ago, Bristol PhD student Tom Carter, whom you see on this screen, was conducting research at our Interaction and Graphics group. This is an interdisciplinary research lab in our Department of Computer Science. The group brings together leading experts in human-computer interaction, graphics, and visual perception, creating a remarkable ground for innovative ideas. And during his research, Carter developed the foundations for an exciting new haptic technology, and his work soon caught the attention of other researchers and students, leading to collaborative efforts that spanned multiple disciplines. Now, this is the important point. Recognizing the commercial potential of his invention, Carter received significant support from us, from the university's enterprise support team, mentorship, resources, funding to transition the technology from the lab to the market. This included participating in business plan competitions, seed funding, and connecting with people like yourselves, industry mentors and investors. And in 2013, Carter co-founded Ultra Haptics to commercialize his technology. And the company quickly gained traction, attracting investment and partnering with major tech firms. And its remarkable hand tracking and mid-air haptics technology, which allows users to actually touch and manipulate the virtual world, soon found applications in a wide range of industries, from VR and automotive to advertising and interactive displays. So by 2021, the company, now known as Ultraleap and based at Temple Quay, was valued at over 200 million and employs 164 people here in Bristol. So a quick share of another story. Tony Davis, professor of chemistry, whom you see here, the older gentleman, was working on synthetic molecules capable of binding to glucose with high specificity. Davis's research was focused on creating a molecule that could mimic the natural receptors found in biological systems. Recognizing the potential medical applications of his work, Davis collaborated with his PhD student, whom I hope is known to all of you, Harry Desterquois, and his postdoctoral researcher, Tomás Rodriguez. And their interdisciplinary approach, combining chemistry, biology, and medicine, was crucial for advancing their research from theory to practice. And again, with the help of our enterprise support team, the trio founded Xylo in 2014 to commercialize this glucose-binding molecule, seen here on the slide. Again, receiving university support, business development guidance, access to funding, and connections, again, to industry partners. And this breakthrough technology attracted significant interest from the pharmaceutical industry. And in 2018, Xylo was acquired by Novo Nordisk, a global leader in diabetes care, in a deal worth up to $800 million. So the success of Ultraleap and the success of Xylo, and it's particularly exciting that Harry has stayed here in Bristol and has 3 incubators now, known as Science Creates, shows the power of bringing together cutting-edge research, interdisciplinary collaboration, and a supportive entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the city of Bristol. So, who are we? If you don't know us well, you may not know that 94% of our research is regarded as world leading or internationally excellent. We are placed 5th in the UK for overall research quality, and we're now 54th in the world according to QS rankings. That's 9th in the world. We're one of 2 great universities here at the heart of the city of Bristol. And as a civic institution, as the University for Bristol, as well as the University of Bristol, we're really committed to realising the beneficial impact of our research on society, particularly through enterprise and innovation. And Bristol is now recognised as one of the top institutions in the UK for fostering academic entrepreneurship, for helping our academics realise the commercial potential of their theoretical ideas. And indeed, last year, Research England's Knowledge Exchange Framework highlighted our strengths in commercialisation and ranking us 3rd on average investment raised per spin-out. And we currently see around 6 high potential spin-outs emerging each year. And these companies are maximising the impact of our research, developing ingenious commercial applications drawn from fields such as quantum, artificial intelligence, clean energy, and health technology, to name only a few. And we're also creating new quality jobs, attracting inward investment, and supporting economic growth for our city and for our region. Like Ultraleap and Xylo, they're nearly all the result of that combination of cutting-edge research and the supportive entrepreneurial ecosystem that exists in the city of Bristol. Which brings me to Temple Quarter Campus, which you see before you as it goes up. And anyone going in and out of Temple Mead will see that we really are building at speed. So this is the main academic building of our new enterprise campus, which you see going up before you. This is how we are going to take our cutting edge research and entrepreneurial zeal to the next level. We're doing so in an amazing region of the Southwest. And in doing so, we are going to contribute to it, but also draw from it. Because Bristol is already home to one of the UK's most significant tech clusters, boasting one of the highest business startups and survival rates, and enjoying globally recognized strengths in sectors such as aerospace, zero carbon, and the creative industries. So this gives us extraordinarily strong foundations on which to build, and in which we want to help secure unrealized potential to become not only just a UK tech leader, but an international one. And as an aside, it would be remiss of me not just to mention that the University of Bristol was recently chosen by the government to host the UK's national AI research resource, Isambard AI, which will soon be one of the most powerful supercomputers for AI in the world. And here's our leading principal investigator talking about it.
Isambard AI is one of the world's most powerful supercomputers and one of the first optimized specifically for artificial intelligence applications. It'll be in the top 10, ranked by performance, the top 10 supercomputers in the world, and one of the most powerful for artificial intelligence. If you got everyone in the world, say that was 8 billion people, and got everyone in the world to do one calculation every second, every hour of the day, 24/7, 365 days a year, it would take everyone on Earth nearly 100 years to do what Isambard AI can do in just 1 second.
So, this is really exciting. And if you like, the nickname Silicon Gorge has been attached to our city region, and I don't think it's an overstatement to say that there are real similarities to that connectivity between what's going on in the city, what's going on in the region, great universities, the retention of amazing talent, and new companies emerging every day. And we like to see ourselves as being at the heart of that through spin-outs from our research, through the incubation work of Engine Shed, Science Creates, Set Squared, but Temple Quarter, and you see some artists' images of both the interior and the exterior shots, is going to lie at the heart of this, bringing all of our energy together in one place, which is reachable without going up any hills. So opening in 2026, the Enterprise Campus has been designed from the ground up to support challenge-based research and education and to facilitate creative collisions. And we're aiming to form a really porous campus, one that's welcoming to people, allowing movement throughout, and will have state-of-the-art facilities, including open plan labs, flexible workspaces, and this may be of particular interest to you, collaborative zones, which companies can access. It will co-locate our new business school, a range of engineering digital research groups, and a number of centres for doctoral training, including in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, as well as our Centre for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and the Quantum Technologies Innovation Centre, all of which already work extensively with industry. And we'll be hosting a range of events and hoping for much greater engagement with the local economy. And crucially, the campus will provide dedicated space for around 300 enterprise partners, including both existing SMEs and international companies, allowing for daily interactions between our academic community, our research partners, and our entrepreneurial partners. Importantly, our ambition extends beyond the campus itself. We will anchor a cluster of knowledge-intensive businesses and industry in the very heart of Bristol, as part of the wider 130-hectare Temple Quarter regeneration area. And I'm pleased to say, and I won't go through this slide, that clustering has already begun. For example, the New Science Creates OMX incubator for deep tech companies was kickstarted by a £4.75 million award from Research England. And additionally, our Quantum Technology Innovation Centre, currently in pilot phase at Cathedral Square and backed by WECA, has already supported more than a third of all quantum tech companies in the UK and will be moving to the enterprise campus. And we also have other activities taking place, our state-of-the-art new dental school, and the new research hubs have opened. And what you see in front of you is a visualization of the Bristol Digital Futures Institute, pioneering transformative approaches to digital innovation, including virtual production studios and a reality emulator, a world-leading digital twin. This is helping position the Southwest and the city of Bristol as an international trailblazer in screen-based media. Elsewhere, as you may well know, our Temple Quarter partners are pressing on with building a new eastern entrance at Temple Mead Station, directly opening onto our campus. And together, these landmark projects have helped transform investor confidence and serve as a catalyst for a further potential £2 billion development project over the next decade across the regeneration area, one of the biggest in Europe. So finally, we took a bold step last year, in addition to our physical campus, to increase our commercial offering, launching Bristol Innovations to help the translation of our ideas to market in partnership with the public and private sector. And here's just a range of the different areas that we work on, from creative technologies through to quantum, materials for sustainability, telecoms, and different ways of creating institutional investment funds. But above all, we want to ensure that this connectivity, this space, is interdisciplinary and innovative and inclusive, so that our entrepreneurship is for everyone, not just for those who are already skilled in, for example, quantum technology. And in building a more innovation-led economy, the proximity enabled by the campus and surrounding innovation ecosystems, which you are so much a part of, matters to everyone. And we aim to turbocharge the spillovers, the accessibility that our campus will permit. So collaboration with enterprise partners, with you, is absolutely the cornerstone of our strategy. We're not waiting for our campus to open. We're doing that collaboration now. We aim to work with partners today to develop how we were going to use Temple Quarter in the future. And my colleague, Richard Elliott, part of the Bristol Innovations team, can talk to you about this and our offer to business in more detail. And if you have any follow-up questions after today, please email bristol.ac.uk/Temple Quarter. Greg, back to you. Thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed the presentation, and I look forward to working with all of you as we develop this vision.
Thank you, Evelyn. Let's give it a round of applause, please. Thanks. So there, we've all had more than a flavour, and Evelyn, thank you so much indeed. At the heart of the capital of the West, at the heart of Bristol itself, is the most extraordinary, and it is extraordinary. We will look back in years to come at this moment of what's being created here. It's an extraordinary endeavour to make that to be nationally renowned, of course, but actually internationally renowned. And one way or another, downstream from that, whether it's directly associated with Temple Campus or whether it's to do with us as the overall ecosystem of the entrepreneurial world, somewhere out there, this has value across the piece for everyone here, everyone involved in EntreConf, research-led entrepreneurial environment. Evelyn, I sort of almost paused before asking you, but I'm going to ask you this. Can you put this in context? I'd like the yet bigger picture. There are various science parks in multiple areas. It's Exeter as part of our landscape, but obviously certainly also Cambridge is one of the older ones, Oxford and so on. That's one reference point. The other are the big American universities, MIT, Harvard and so on. Where is your scale? What is, when you're thinking about this, what are you seeking? What's your reference point here?
So when we've put our ideas for Temple Quarter together, we are looking at American ecosystems. The funding arrangements, the tax breaks, etc., are very different, and the depth of long-standing investment that's taken place, for example, in Silicon Valley, Stanford, or around MIT and Harvard, are not completely comparable. But if you look at what MIT have been able to do with their actually originally very deprived area of Boston, that is very much the model that we've gone to. UK science parks tend to be in spaces which are outside city centres, which offer cheap land and large hangar space. They absolutely have their purpose. We have the Bristol and Bath Science Park and the National Composite Centre ourselves. But this is different. This is bringing entrepreneurship, deep tech entrepreneurship, to the heart of the city of Bristol. What we then require, of course, is down to everyone in the room with you, because we can incubate, we can start off, and then you need further spaces, such as Science Creates, to grow, and then you need the spaces, the investment, and the skills base to go from a, let's say, team of 5 to a team of 500 to a team of 5,000 and well beyond.
So, I mean, this vision, and it's more than a vision, it's a plan. This plan will bring together, it's a coalescent point for academics, for businesses and advisors. And as mentioned, one way or another, there is value, not just monetary, but there's value reputationally and in terms of connections for us all. It is itself, Evelyn, an entrepreneurial activity. You've got the big hairy goal, as some Americans sometimes say. You've got the steps towards it. Tell us about how you personally and your team are approaching this as an entrepreneurial activity. It must be incredibly challenging, all the sort of multidisciplinary jigsaws, if that's a thing, to pull together.
Thank you for acknowledging the challenge. It's well, high risk, high reward. I am delighted to say, and if any of you are sitting next to anything wooden, please touch it on my behalf, and that we are on time and on budget. And it's a £500 million project. It's incredibly complex, a lot of issues to do with the site itself, but that's been the easy bit of it. The bit that is actually going to be more challenging is, for example, entrepreneurs and academics work at different timescales, work in a way where the need to deliver for an academic may be over a 10 to 20 year period, not over a month, 2 months, 6 months. The work that we will do inside and around this space is helping to translate the world of the entrepreneur and the world of really fundamental, innovative research with great commercial potential. So that's where we need everyone's help, being willing to say, spot great ideas and say, how do I help you translate that into products that I can take to market in a time that will please my investors? And that's the harder bit, and that's the bit that we're working on now.
We had an extraordinary session with Aysel Sarbaeva about Insilitech, an extraordinary business that genuinely, could be, it's on course to be a world changer. And I asked her a question, which I'll ask you, along these lines, that an academic world on the whole is more structured, it's thoughtful, it's analytical, it's testing assumptions, it's arriving at conclusions, etc. An entrepreneurial world has elements of that, but is much more intuitive, instinctive, reactive, seizing opportunities. How have you personally tried, and you've touched on this, but how do you personally marry those two psychologies in bringing this forward? Because however much something is on plan, when it's on this scale, there will be, of course, minor changes to plan, I don't doubt.
So my experience of entrepreneurship is that a successful entrepreneur always has a plan and then is willing to rip it up when it doesn't go to plan and plan again and plan again and plan again. And that high risk, high reward only comes with really good risk mitigation. Academics are not that dissimilar. You start with a hypothesis, you experiment, your experiment does not support your hypothesis, you rip it up and you start again. And the difference primarily is that you do it for the love of it as an academic. You very rarely are trying to make money either for yourself or for someone else. So you're not looking for the commercial possibilities, whereas a really good entrepreneur is constantly saying, is there a market for this? Is there a market for this brilliant idea? So I come back to that need for that intermediaries, translators, who help academics see that actually being interested in profit, whether it's for social good or for commercial good, is a good thing. It's a healthy thing for our city and for our community, and for the entrepreneur who is working with them. And it usually is somebody with an entrepreneurial mindset working alongside the physicist, the chemist, the quantum person there. And they're often coming out of our new business school, that they too need to understand when to come in and pick the technology-ready product.
You're very deftly alluding to the fact I've given you a bit of a false dichotomy there. Of course, the two worlds are not so dissimilar. Of course not. And I'll give you another perspective from entrepreneurs, which is quite clear from EntreConf previously, and we were touching on it during this conference, which is that many entrepreneurs, their focus, of course, money, success, materiality absolutely matters, but often as not, cut beneath the surface, it's about testing, proving, trying, learning. And that, as an impulse, is quite similar to some of the academic impulses. So perhaps in that old film line, perhaps we're not that dissimilar, you and I, who knows? Tell me this, the £500 million investment you mentioned, very roughly, where has this come from, and what is the role of central government, brackets, if any?
Sadly, directly into our campus, the role of central government has been precisely zip.
How could they possibly say no to you? I'm just trying to imagine someone being the other side of the table from this. But anyway, go on, you go.
But we have benefited from the West of England Combined Authority, who've invested 35 million, particularly in quantum innovation, hoping to position the city of Bristol and indeed the whole of the west of England as a space where, as quantum technologies of all sorts come on board, we are here and ready to be the world leading space for those deep technologies and the companies that will rely on them. We have had philanthropic support as well, considerable philanthropic support from our alumni, and then we have borrowed the money because we believe that this is the future for the university and for the city, and we have a business plan that backs that up.
A radical, and I'm sure you'll be very polite in saying it's a daft idea, but have you considered, in the slightly broader sense, of bootstrapping? By that I mean, with the funding that the university has, with its minority stakes in existing businesses, some of those spin-outs will have, you know, substantial value, that is one of the means of self-funding, in part, this extraordinary project.
And we think it will be good for our students, and for our staff and for our research, because there's nothing like the buzz that you get from innovative entrepreneurial conversations to really ensure that our students understand not just what they're studying for in isolation, but how they too will make a difference in the future.
Yeah. You mentioned we were, you know, very, very privileged to have a wonderful lunch with Evelyn at the Bristol Life Network lunch a couple of weeks ago, no more than that. And you mentioned there, and I paraphrase, but a quote along these lines, the biggest barrier to growth for the university, and you were talking in the context of this, is the relative lack of investment locally for spin-outs. They have to go to London or even to the US to gain the big bucks. You're clearly focused on this and determined to change it. How?
So you'll have seen our wraparound Bristol Innovations. So Bristol Innovations has special purpose vehicles that we've created for each of our specialist areas. For example, around materials for extreme environments. That is, materials that might be used in the nuclear industry or materials that might be used in outer space. And we've joined in with a number of other universities into an investment fund called Matcelerate. And for each of their special purpose vehicles, we will be developing investment funds collaboratively, which will ensure that you don't just get small amounts of seed funding and then go in Bristol and then go out and have to find additional funding. And often your funders want you to move to wherever they are because they want to have a very, very close oversight of what you're doing. And indeed, many of the funding, particularly for quantum technology, is coming out of Europe rather than out of the UK. So by positioning Bristol Innovations as an entity that actually helps, and people have a front door into our specialist technologies, and then appropriately significant investment funds behind that, we hope to make a really big difference, not only to the university and our spin-outs, but to others within the region as well.
That's absolutely brilliant. I have a question here about where's your front door, and you've answered that question in passing. You've also got, there's a contact here, temple-quarter at bristol.ac.uk. Please, anyone interested in following us up, please do go that route, contact Bristol Innovations. All of us will, and this is a point from Evelyn slightly earlier, all of us can play a part in helping this. All of us can benefit from it as well. And the whole point is, collectively, there's benefits to be generated across the piece and, frankly, across generations from this. I'm going to throw the questions open to the audience. If we've got a couple of mics, I'm not sure our team are actually here. I think they're prepping the lunch, who knows. A couple of questions, please, and I'll come back to some others. So put your hands up, or indeed not. Let's have a look. Over here, if we can bring, yeah, thanks, Claudia, thanks.
Sorry for asking a question again.
It's Nick again, yeah.
So Nick Sturge, portfolio of clients, including Mission Street Capital, who are bringing forward 140,000 square feet of scale-up innovation space, just a few minutes from the campus. So I've got two questions. First is about that you talked about, Evelyn, the kind of the campus, the broader campus, and being an anchor for a broader community, and how you see that working, that embraces third parties and that. And then the second question, really exciting to see the development of what's been, 11 or 12 years of journey here. Because 11 years ago, last month, Set Squared moved from the University Precinct in Clifton down to Temple Quarter in the beginnings of Engine Shed, where we supported both Tom and Harry that you mentioned. So obviously keen to hear more about what the future of Engine Shed as a brand and a project that engaged a lot with the communities in that part of Bristol, what the future of that looks like in the new campus.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick, and nice to hear from you.
You might expect me to say that, sorry.
Greg, do you want me to answer that, or
Please.
to wait for any questions?
No, let's take this. We'll take questions sequentially, if that's okay. Thank you.
So we're really hoping that we will be the anchor tenant for that wider regeneration, not just through the building that you're seeing in front of us, Cattle Market 1, as it's currently named, but also through digital innovation that takes place just across the canal in BDFI, in my world, and indeed in other spaces down on Avon Street, such as our dental school, where we have 1,000 patients coming through a day, and where again, an understanding of health and health technologies can be really, really important. But it's not just those companies which are in the immediate vicinity, and it's going to be well beyond. I think the key challenge that we all have is how we ensure that our entrepreneurial, innovative companies actually ensure that there's good quality work for everyone in Bristol, not just for those who have a PhD or who are already well cited in terms of quantum technologies or artificial intelligence. So we are also going to be a community space where we'll be working with local communities, particularly in South Bristol, on upskilling and on ensuring that their voices are heard in this space as well as business voices. And I hope that it's that collaborative anchoring around inclusive growth that will make this very, very distinctive. Set Squared is fantastic, absolutely amazing. And we're excited and encouraged to continue working for it because we are all in the same area, within walking distance, within the distance to have a cup of coffee easily, to pop in. We're going to need more spaces like Set Squared and Science Creates if we're successful, not fewer.
Nick, do you have a follow-up observation or query to any of the points you just heard?
No, it's great to hear about the inclusive piece. I think that's absolutely key.
Hang on just a sec, we'll just get the mic back to you.
I would just say that's really good to hear, the inclusive nature and making sure that we tap into the rich diversity of talent in the region is absolutely key. And, it's a complex topic and not something that any one organisation or institution can do together. So the collaborative nature is absolutely key. So, yeah, pleased to hear that. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Some other questions, please. I think I saw a hand over here. Am I imagining it? Getting stir crazy, if so. Sorry, in the middle. My apologies. Sorry. Yeah.
Hi, Gary Fisher from Mode Consult. We're in the construction industry and we've done a lot of work for UWE on their master plan. Just interested to see how you got best value for money out of the Temple Quarter. Are
you asking for a friend, Gary? Is it?
We'd love to help you out.
Okay, no, not the vibe. But you're talking about, if I may frame it slightly differently, talking about procurement process.
Yeah.
How can you just talk us through that? Because there are, as Gary's business, Mode Consult, other businesses, of course, as well, would wish to engage in some way. Can you just briefly talk us through your procurement process? And one specific question, how much is localism part of a factor in choosing a particular supplier or delivery company?
So I will confess I'm not an expert on our procurement process. And I suggest that you contact Rob Logan, who's our Director of Procurement, for any specific areas. Suffice it to say that obviously something like CM1 went through a very, very extensive business case development and very extensive procurement process, the contract being awarded in the end to Sir Robert McAlpine. That contract included very specific targets, particularly around local employment and local skills development. And localism is really important to us, and we like to source as many of our products, particularly in our cafes, for example, from local producers. But of course, we also have to deliver value for money for our staff, for our students, and for our wider community. So getting that balance right is something that our procurement folk do all the time. But we have, if you look at the University of Bristol strategy, you will see a civic engagement pillar. And in that civic engagement pillar, we recognise the impact that we have on the economy of the city, and we are determined to play our part in ensuring that we deliver value for businesses within the city as well as for ourselves. Colleagues in the room may not realise we're the second largest employer by numbers in the city of Bristol after the NHS, with over 8,000 staff and many, many more in our supply chain. We take this really seriously.
I think that very latter point is coming through very clearly indeed. Thank you. A couple other questions, because if not, I'd like to just move to this point, which is that Bristol is the de facto capital of the West. If this were some Baltic state, this is the capital. It looks and feels and increasingly acts like a capital. So tell us this vast and frankly vastly transformative project clearly benefits the whole region. How does the engagement work with the other universities specifically in the region? So I'm thinking Exeter, depending on how you define the region, the two universities in Cardiff, and of course the two universities in Bath, as well as UWE. Please.
So when I was first interviewed for the job of Vice-Chancellor of the University of Bristol, this was one of the questions I was asked, Greg, so well spotted. And we have a bit of an alphabet soup, and that may be one of the challenges that our particular region has. So the four research universities and research-intensive, research-led universities, Bath, Bristol, Exeter and Cardiff, all collaborate through something called GW4, not the railway, GW4. And we've been going together for 10 years, and our collaboration is specifically around PhD training. So a lot of our centres for doctoral training, a lot of our doctoral training programs for social sciences, for arts and humanities, for biology, are done collaboratively across those four research-intensive institutions. But locally, we have our civic agreement with the University of the West of England and with City of Bristol College. And we see ourselves as a tertiary ecosystem, really serving the city and doing things together where it makes sense, but differentiating where we can help each other and not actually compete with each other. And then in the West of England Combined Authority and in the Western Gateway, we have other ways of bringing in other kinds of institutions. So now the West of England Combined Authority and the Vice-Chancellors of Bristol, Bath, UWE and Bath Spa meet on a regular basis to say, how can we contribute to regional strategy? We do see ourselves as an innovation engine, not just for our immediate city, but for the whole region.
I say this.
It helps that we like each other.
That certainly helps. So it helps in any form of collaboration after all. I say this slightly advisedly. Evelyn, just talk a little bit about your personal background, because I saw one or two others might have just picked up a hint of an American accent lurking there somewhere. And then from that particular perspective, looking in at the Southwest and the way that, you know, from our point of view, we're so parochial. We think somewhere an hour away is miles away. We never meet up or whatever. But perhaps from a slightly more international perspective, it's all one place. Please talk to us about that.
So you're quite right. My family's originally from Galveston, Texas. I was born in Boston, grew up in New York City, and came over to the UK to do my PhD in the early 1980s and never left. So I do bring an American approach, which I've retained over all of these decades here in the UK, and it's twofold. The first is that I'm not afraid to talk about money, and the second is that I'm willing to take a risk, and if it doesn't work, that's a great learning experience. So I hope that those are two things that help me have that entrepreneurial mindset and want to encourage everyone within the University of Bristol to see the world slightly differently. I think the thing that I worked in London for 20, 30 years, always in higher education, but I have a sideline in the music business. My daughter is a musician, so I'm very, very aware of the ups and downs of different kinds of creative businesses where success is absolutely not guaranteed, even when you're successful. And I bring all of that, I hope, to Bristol, where in September, I'll be starting my 3rd year as the university president. It's gone so incredibly quickly, and I've loved every minute of it.
And I do hesitate, because I'm going to ask you this, which we touched on at the Bristol Life Network lunch, which is about the infrastructure of Bristol, and slightly more widely, can this region sustain, support, house this extraordinary propulsive growth which is going to come directly from the campus plan? Is the infrastructure big enough to take it?
No. So
Would you like to give
we
a
have to work
answer?
collaboratively with WECA and with the City of Bristol Council of any political flavour to ensure that we have the infrastructure to cope with the demand. People want to come and live and work in Bristol because it's a fantastic environment. It's absolutely amazing. And our students might leave after they graduate to go to London for a year or two, but they very rapidly say, I'd like to come back and live in Bristol, work in Bristol. I have the skills. Many other cities would kill for the challenge that we have, which is a challenge of success and of growth. What we now need is a transport plan and good transport infrastructure, because of course you can afford to live further outside the city if you can get into the city with ease. So if I have one plea for those responsible for ensuring that we have really good infrastructure, it's to sort out our transport.
Well, let's just check. Are there any further questions from the audience? Because I just want to come to one last point, if I may. No, Simon, I thought you were putting a hand up there. It's like being an auctioneer. There's a little twitch. You think it's a question. It's not. Evelyn, so today we have a group here of some academics, many advisors, and even more entrepreneurs. What should you do as a result of this talk this morning?
Get in touch with us at Temple Quarter at bristol.ac.uk. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from your ideas. We'd love to sell you some space in the Enterprise campus.
Yeah, you mentioned having an American front-footedness about not being afraid of the financials. That's quite clear. I think what's also quite clear is that, is this going to be delivered to the exact nth degree? It's working on extraordinarily well at the moment. It's on time, on schedule, on budget. It will come forward, this grand vision. We asked Evelyn and her team to talk about this as an entrepreneurial endeavour and this is the first time we think publicly that this has been discussed. And we're absolutely thrilled to have this this keynote for EntreConf from Evelyn and her team. One way or another, I will keep stressing this point, we will each benefit from this, but it is up to us also to help contribute to it. I'm sure, I'm going to say it personally, but I would hope it's true of each of us in this room. I do admire your openness in sharing the grand vision. I mean, some people, hold it back a bit until we've got a bit more proof of concept or further down the line, or keep it within the bounds. You haven't taken that route at all. And we also, of course, I'm sure, hugely admire the grand vision itself. Whilst, up to a point, we'll all be on the sidelines cheering and, supporting this. We at EntreConf want to be part of that conversation very much. It is up to us to get involved.